Hey, good evening.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you.
Hi. Pastor John, do you want to introduce this lovely couple, or do you want me to?
I do. Okay. The Mrvas, Tim and Cindy Mrva. They've been with us for a very, very, very long time. Very dear friends to Becky and I and to a whole bunch of folks at Calvary Chapel, Central Phoenix. As we've said many, many times, it's you see people, you see them active, you see them involved. And sometimes with these guys are in the bookstore, so you don't see them right after the service, or maybe you don't see them right at the beginning of the service. But anyway, these Wednesday nights, they give us an opportunity to kind of look behind the veil a little bit, look behind the scenes and see our leadership, get to know them a bit, get to know them, some of the personal things that makes them tick, that's formed who they are, and about their families, about their ministries and things like that. So, Mrvas, welcome. Good to have you here tonight.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Hi, everybody. We
Hi.
miss you all.
Yeah, we miss you guys.
Yeah,
Wish we could all get together in one place.
Yeah, yeah. Amen. Well, hopefully, hopefully soon. As we were talking before this all started, as soon as we can do it and minimize the possibility of hurting anyone. So
yeah,
we'll definitely be doing that. And we will be doing that in stages, but we'll keep everybody informed as to when, where, and how, and as much as we possibly can in that. Pastor Dan, would you like to ask a few questions to get us?
Yeah. Again, Tim and Cindy, thank you so much for spending the evening with us. We're going to start the same way we've started with everyone, and that's probably the most important part. Why Jesus? Why did both of you make the decision to become followers of Jesus Christ?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Well, I was raised in the Catholic Church. My parents went to church every Sunday. They sent us kids to catechism. And I wasn't real old when I began to question things. Like most Catholics, we had a Bible on our coffee table, but nobody was really allowed or encouraged to look in it or touch it. I opened it up every now and then and looked at the pictures, but that was about the extent of that.
Yeah.
And one of my earliest memories to exposure to the Bible, and it really kind of created some questions, is somebody came to our grade school and passed out little Bibles with the New Testament and Psalms, and I brought it home. I was very excited, and my parents took them away from us and put them up on a shelf. And I never understood why they did that, and it really created a lot of curiosity in me. So when I would go to catechism on Saturdays, I would ask the nuns questions, and they didn't seem to have the answers. And my questions would kind of aggravate them. And I was threatened to be hit with a ruler, and there were numerous occasions and things like that. So I'm like, how come they don't have the answers? So I was searching for the answers. And fast forward to high school, and I was in a rock band, and I was kind of a hippie kind of a guy. And this girl walks up to me that I knew her from school, and she goes, "I have to share this with you." And what is it? She goes, "It's the 4 spiritual laws. I have to read them to you." So she was assigned by her Sunday school teacher to read the 4 spiritual laws to somebody. And that was the first time I'd ever heard them. And I read, and she got my curiosity up. And she says, "Okay, well then thanks." And she says, "By the way, there's a Bible study at school in the morning before school, and it's over in Mr. Swanson's room," I think she said, which was my geometry teacher, who I really liked him a lot. And I thought, well, that's a plus. I like the teacher, and it's convenient before school. And so I started going and learning a little bit more about the Bible. And then someone there invited me to come to the Nazarene church, and I would go to the Catholic church with my parents on Sunday, but then the Nazarene church on Wednesday night. And it was during that time, it was 1971, that there was a fatal accident somewhere around our hometown of Owasso, Michigan. And the pastor said, if you were the person in that car, I think, and you unexpectedly were faced with death and you died, do you know where you'd spend eternity? and I couldn't answer that question. And so that this feeling that you have in your heart when that happens is similar to everybody who's on the verge of making a decision, and they don't know if they really want to or not. And your knees get shaky and your heart starts pounding. And I went forward with a bunch of other people and knelt at the altar and accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior that night. So I can't tell you the day, but I know it was in winter. I know it was in 1971. So it had to be sometime in late 1971. So I've been serving the Lord ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We just want to welcome everyone who's just tuning in right now, and just again, I encourage you to if you're joining us, be a part of the conversation. A lot of people saying hello to you, Tim and Cindy. They miss you. A lot of people saying that you two are basically their favorite people on earth. So that's
No.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You have to ask our kids.
Yeah.
No. They're biased. Probably in the negative. No, I'm just kidding.
But just wanted to remind everyone watching to make sure that you comment or ask questions. Tim and Cindy are here to field any and all questions that you may have for them or about life in general.
Guaranteed you're going to get the exact right answer.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So Cindy, what about you? What was your path to the cross?
My mother raised my sister and I in the Catholic faith. My dad did not go to church, but he listened to Tennessee Ernie Ford's gospel music, and that just really kind of drew me. And I knew there was something missing in my life. I knew about Jesus, but I didn't have a relationship with him. And it wasn't until Tim and I started dating years later, because I had been looking to fill that void that I had. I looked in psychology. I was headed down the road of New Age. I just knew that there was something really missing. And then when Tim and I started dating and we were having a conversation, and he was talking to me about what Jesus actually experienced on the cross. And that was the first time I had ever really heard that. And
Let me tell him what that was. It was the physician takes a look at the crucifixion.
Yeah.
Talked about all the biological things that were happening, the physiological.
Yeah.
So sorry.
No, that's okay. I'll talk to you later. But anyhow, so that was really perked my interest. And then we got married. And then after we moved to Arizona, I said, well, gosh, I want to go back to church. And so I went to the Catholic Church, and Tim took Cassie and Carrie to the North Phoenix Baptist Church. And then his boss, who he works for now, again, invited us to Valley Cathedral. And so we started going there. And boy, did I have questions. And because there were some things that were kind of confusing to me. And I kind of faked it a little bit. I, pretended like I had a relationship with the Lord. But then it was actually one night, the girls were in bed and Tim was at work. And I had TBN on watching Praise the Lord show. And we were living in our 650 square foot duplex apartment. And Jan Crouch asked if anybody wanted to accept the Lord. And I got on my knees right there in the living room and accepted Christ. And have not looked back since. That emptiness, that void that I had instantly went away because I was just hungry. I knew something was missing. And so when I accepted Jesus, it was like, I'm not looking anymore. I don't have to. So
That's awesome.
I love it. I love it. See, God will even use TBN.
Oh yeah. I know. Who would have thunk?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Well, Jesus said if you're kind of if you're not against us, you're for us, and they definitely, although we may or may not theologically be on the same page, I think there's definitely was a gospel message being preached, and you're obviously the fruit of that. So
Yes.
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
Well, I would have a different story than her.
A little bit.
We want the true story, Tim. So we'll ask Cindy.
Well,
Go ahead.
okay.
You knew
I knew who she was long before we actually, quote unquote, met, because my brother played accordion, and his accordion lessons were back to back with her sister's accordion
You
lessons.
kind of planned it that way.
Yeah, he kind of did. So anyway, he had a crush on her sister. My brother did. Anyway, so when her parents would come bring Mary Ray to accordion lessons, they would sometimes bring Cindy along. So I knew who she was from a fairly young age. And then I knew who she was in high school or junior high. I would see her in the hallways. And of course I recognized her, but she didn't know me from Adam. She didn't know who I was. And then we joined co-op, which you work half a day at a job, and then the other half of the day you're in school, in classes. And so we were in this class for what they call nurse technician, which other people call it nurse's aide, but they called it nurse technician. And we were taking this class together, and we got to know each other through work, and we worked together on the floor in a lot of different places in the hospital. And we got along really well and just joked around. And then I left the hospital and we lost touch with each other. And
5 years later. Was it 5 years?
6, I think.
Oh, I don't know. It was
6
quite
years
a
later?
it
6,
was
7,
quite a while.
6 or 7, I don't know, a certain number of years later, we got together again, and the rest is history.
Tim, what was her sister's name?
Mary Ray.
Now, that's got to be a Midwest thing where you have to use 2 names, right?
Yeah, that's actually her full name, although Ray could be considered her middle name.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mary Ray.
I've noticed with a lot of Midwestern folks, they're using that first and middle name. My middle name was William. My mom would call me Johnny Bill.
Oh,
Johnny Bill.
I like that.
When she used both of them.
Johnny Bill. Yeah.
But I noticed with Greg and Rhea, they do the same thing. It's both names, especially with Rhea. I think it's a Midwestern thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, very well.
Let's hear the real story now, how you met.
Well, actually, like he said, he knew me. I didn't know him, and then once
We call that stalking, just so you know.
well, we have another whole stalking.
We have another whole
story.
stalking story. But it doesn't involve the two of us.
No,
It involves-
Yeah, we want people to be able to sleep tonight. So we're
Right. So anyhow, how we ended up dating is Cassie actually came in to he was married and
had 2 kids,
had 2
Cassie and Carrie.
and Cassie came into the hospital. I was working in pediatrics. She came in for a muscle resection, and he introduced me to his wife and wanted to know what my married name was. And I said, well, I've never been married. It's still legal. And so then many months later, after his wife and him separated, then he asked me out to a Heart and ELO concert. And so,
as you can tell, although I was saved, I wasn't really walking 100% steady with the Lord back in the
For those that are younger, what does ELO stand for?
Electric Light Orchestra.
Okay, it's a band. I just wanted to make sure that people.
And a lot of people know who Heart is, and
Yeah.
they put on a very good show for secular music,
Yeah.
But We don't listen to them anymore. Just
I just wanted to make sure that a lot of folks, we're getting older. A lot of folks wouldn't even think who Yellow was. So
Right.
So I was happily single, and a friend of ours, friends of ours, Mick and Jude, they said, let's go to the Heart and Yellow concert. And I said, okay, I'll go to Lansing and pick up some tickets. And I said, I'll get 3 tickets. And they goes, no, you're going to get 4 tickets. And I said, why? And he says, you're not going by yourself with us. You're bringing a date. So that's when I called her.
Yeah, after he went through the yearbook looking for people that he could call.
TMI.
Oh, that's funny.
I didn't know anybody. I was out of circulation for a lot of years.
So was it like, there we go. There's one.
Yeah. And since he had seen me months before
And
in
I
the
knew-
hospital, he knew I wasn't married. So
Gotcha.
So
yeah.
So how many kids? How many grandkids?
We have a total of 3 children. We know one of them that lives in heaven, and then we have our daughter Carrie and her husband Alan, and our grandson Judah.
They live in Columbus,
Ohio. And then we have our son Daniel and our daughter-in-law Jillian, and 2 granddaughters, Charlotte and Eve.
Mm-hmm. And they live in Centennial, Colorado,
Yeah.
up by Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Gotcha.
And so we've been together for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been at Central?
At Central, which
time?
But
if we had stayed at Central since we started, we would have been there 29 years this year.
Yeah.
But we were there 6 years the first time, from 1991 to 1997.
And we're gone 14 years.
Job transfer sent us to Illinois for 14 years. And then loss of that job due to cutbacks after the 2008 crash. And our company got acquired by a bigger company who was looking to eliminate redundant job titles. I got kicked to the curb and was unemployed for 2 years, and then ended up being rehired by the guy that I worked for the first time we moved to Arizona in 1980. He and I stayed in touch over the years, and he said, "You want to move back to Arizona?" So offered me a job, and the rest is history. So when we came back, it was like we were coming home. It was natural. Like we were coming home.
Yeah.
Well, we're very pleased that the Lord sent you back.
Yeah.
So this time we've been there for 9 years.
Yeah.
So
total of
15.
15,
9 and 6 is
including
15.
both times. So,
Yeah.
We were on hiatus, I guess.
Yeah.
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 I want to take just a quick minute and say hello to Jared and Dee Dee and Salome and Joan and Oscar, Cynthia Bennett, my lovely wife Becky Brown. Thank you guys for checking in, and I just wanted to say hi so that they would know that they're on. So
Sure.
What are your current positions? Professions? What do you guys do professionally?
I'm a professional stay-at-home person. Yeah. Although I do various things, like we do some web design, and then I sometimes work for Tim and Randy doing database entry, and sometimes Tim brings boxes and boxes of filing that I organize. And so I kind of do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, she kind of looked like a contract employee for my day job when we need extra work done. Mm-hmm. And myself, I'm like office manager, operations manager of a company. Salesperson, shipping guy, receiving guy, wearer of all hats. Anything the boss doesn't do, I do. And at a company called Procom, and we sell two-way radio equipment for schools and government and businesses. Our farthest away customer right now is on Wake Island in the middle of the Pacific,
Wow.
pouring cement for an airstrip.
Wow.
So, and
Without getting too technical, would you explain to people what a two-way radio is, what it does?
well, a two-way radio, and I'm not talking about the little toy radios that buy in
No,
the
you don't want toy radios.
in the blister packs in the sporting goods stores and the big box retailers. But a two-way radio is well, like you've seen the police use them. That's a two-way radio. If you've got a fleet of vehicles that's driving around and you want to talk to all of them at once, you can't do that on a cell phone. You have to call them one by one.
Right.
So on a two-way radio, the dispatcher can call and like, let's say they're a cement company and they want to dispatch 5 yards of cement and they want the closest guy to that job that has a load to take it to that site. Well, they call them on the radio, and the guy they can report in where they're at. And like any type of company that needs to dispatch people. Plus, if you've ever been into a movie theater, like the one up at Norterra, their company starts with H.
Oh, you're not mentioning that?
If you see one of those radios on the belt of one of those people there, it's chances are that either me or my boss Randy has touched it at one time or another. So they all have to communicate around the premise. Every school in the valley has two-way radios of some kind for safety.
What's the
Generally, rule of thumb is a mile per watt. So if it's a 2-watt radio, it's going to talk about 2 miles under ideal conditions with flat terrain and no obstacles. So most of the radios we sell are around 5 watts, and they'll talk pretty good distance. They'll talk a lot further than they need to.
If the church had 250 of those, we could just have service and broadcast it right to everybody over radio.
Sure.
Yeah, I suppose you could.
Could you get on that, Tim?
250 radios times commission. No, I'm just kidding. But, I think people get an idea now what you're dealing with when you're talking about a two-way radio.
Yeah.
Something that I think maybe once again we kind of grew up with, but the experience for most is probably the plastic wrap, bubble wrapped ones that you see at the store that you're lucky to get a mile out of, even if that's possible. So
yeah. And a lot of people thought when cell phones came into being that two-way radio went away, but no, two-way radio can do things that cell phones can't. Right. And
can it play Candy Crush?
No.
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 There's a drawback.
Yeah.
Of course, your boss doesn't want you to be playing Candy Crush anyway, right?
What's that?
Your boss is not going to want you to be playing Candy Crush anyway.
No, I don't even like video games. So.
Yeah.
Hey, so what are a couple things people would be just floored to learn about you guys?
Floored? Well, I had one earlier that I was going to say, but Cindy came up with some other ones.
Go ahead.
The year that my parents built what the Clampetts would call a cement pond swimming pool in their backyard, the year that they built that, I had a contest with my friend, a couple of my best friends at school, how far you could jump out of the swing. And we'd measure from the bottom of the swing out to the farthest distance.
Oh, disclaimer, don't
do that.
This.
Don't try this.
Try this at home.
I held the record, and my best friend, one of my best friends, beat it. And so I had to beat his record. And as I was trying to do that, my hands got sweaty, and I slipped out of the swing, and I broke my ulna and radius in both arms.
Yeah.
Right about here.
Oh, boy.
Casts
Oh, boy.
long.
So you were walking around like
yeah
for a long time.
Heavy plaster casts all summer long. The year my parents built the cement pond in the backyard. So that's something people don't know about us. But you had one about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, we've been kind of entrepreneurs. I have went into it kicking and screaming, but we've had Tim had a business called Trinity Installation, and he installed two-way radios into cars and buses and on antennas on buildings, and he used to put mobile phones in cars when they were the kind that you mounted, and he'd have to be drilling holes in these really expensive cars, and it made me very nervous. And then I had a business called You've Got It Made, and I cleaned houses. And Tim had a cable assembly business for a while, and the kids helped out with that. And then I babysat, and I used to bake pies and sell them. And Tim designed the boxes and built the boxes and stuff. So, and then we had our online Christian T-shirts.
Yeah, we had an online Christian T-shirt shop for a few years, and it was
doing really well.
Growing exponentially until the big crash, when people had to make a decision whether they were going to pay their rent or buy a Christian coffee mug or T-shirt.
Yeah.
You know which one wins then.
Yeah. So that's, we kind of have an entrepreneur.
Yeah, we do.
Attitude.
And we still own our web design company, Studio 902 Web Solutions, and we also sell domain names and hosting and SSL certificates and security.
This is not
and
an
email.
advertisement.
So that's kind of entrepreneurs. We're entrepreneurs.
That's cool. That's cool.
So.
Yeah, I get it. You got to have something to do, and if it's always learning. That learning process it can be a challenge, but it's also stimulating. It's also fun.
Oh, it is.
You do one thing and then it runs its course and the door closes and you're thinking, well, okay, I got to put all this energy into something else. So, and Calvary Central has benefited from that. So,
well, the one thing I think both of us have learned, and I speak to this to the younger people that are listening, that when you learn something at one job, take it to the next job. And it's amazing how your past positions come into play to your future jobs.
Yeah. And it's all kind of line upon line.
Yeah.
The stuff that you learn, it's not just gone. You're just adding to it with a new job. So
exactly.
you're able to do even that new job even better. So that's all.
Exactly. So
awesome.
Hey, we kind of talked about this as we prepared for tonight's live stream, and you had mentioned one of your children is with Jesus now, and I know that's a very important part of your guys' story. Would you share a little bit about just the pain of that loss? I know it's been a number of years ago, so the Lord's been doing a lot in your lives. But would you mind sharing a little bit about, it was a loss to you guys, it was a loss to the Central family, maybe those that are listening now that don't know the story, would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Sure. Our oldest daughter stayed out in Arizona, even though we went back east. And our relationship with Cassie was a lifelong struggle because of issues that she had, and she was this very strong-willed person, and so one of the things that when we moved back from Illinois, we felt really good because we could be close to Cassie again, although it was always tumultuous relationship. But then Cassie was ill, and she was having all sorts of problems. And because she couldn't really explain to the physicians what was really going on with her, I think they really missed it, and we missed it. And one night when we were taking her home from church, and Wednesday night,
she had been having a lot of health issues.
Yeah, and so I said to her, Cassie, what you need is a health advocate. And this is how our relationship was. It was, she said, well, if I need a health advocate, it's certainly not going to be you guys. And so it was a few months later that she was diagnosed with uterine cancer. And one time she lived in a group home, and so when she came to live with us, and she was still technically living in the group home, we had to go over and get her medications and stuff like that. So we went over there, and she said to us on the way home back to our apartment, she says, well, what if I have cancer? And it was something that neither one of us had to even talk about. It was just an instinctive thing. We both said, we'll take care of you. And even though we didn't even think about it, even though the struggles were hard with Cassie, she had mental health issues, and so that made it difficult sometimes. But it was like, no, that's just what we're going to do. And we didn't even have to think about it.
No.
And so God did something beautiful in that short month from October of 2014 to August 31st of 2015. He took a very, not that it was easy having her with us, relationship wise always, but he took a very rough relationship and he gave us something beautiful. She asked me one time, Cassie and I spent a lot of time in the bathroom together. And she asked me one time, this was close to her passing away, and she says, what is it like knowing that I'm dying? And I stood there next to her and I put my arm around her and I said, Cassie, it's beautiful in many ways because we were having the opportunity. God gave us that opportunity to mend a very rough relationship. I saw things in Cassie. God showed me things in Cassie that I couldn't have seen had we not had that opportunity.
Right.
I saw a beauty in her that I just never saw before, and it was the Lord.
God blessed us with a 3-bedroom apartment when we first moved to Arizona, and pretty much that bedroom stayed empty pretty much the whole time we were here, except during the time Cassie was with us for that 10 months. And in that 10 months, our relationship with her changed so much for the better in every way you can imagine, personally, emotionally, spiritually.
Oh, yeah.
We all grew up in the Lord a lot during that time.
Yeah.
And, there's not too much, if we look at that 10-month window of time, there's not too much I would do differently. It was very, very hard for us both. And, I was in the room at hospice when she got her promotion. Her promotion to heaven. And I just knew. I had fallen asleep. I'd laid down. Carrie and her had gone back to our house.
It was late.
It was late at night. And I woke up and I could sense there was something different in the room. And I knew she was in glory.
Many times during Cassie's illness, we spent a lot of time singing. Sometimes they were crazy songs if I was just trying to help encourage Cassie just to follow through with life. But we sang a lot of worship songs together as a family. And after Cassie passed away, Tim called us, Carrie and I, and we came back and we sang worship music in the room because it was what we did with Cassie.
Yeah. Those last months, I saw a radiance in her that was different than it was before she was diagnosed.
Yeah.
She, well, you talk about a well done, now good faithful servant. She faced it with an uncanny
Yep.
Brave. She was brave.
She
And
was.
uncanny joy, a godly joy in her life that a lot of people have a hard time finding or remaining in it. And yet she was a testimony to so many people. And
Yeah.
Cindy Bennett, in fact, I'm going to post it up here because I think she expresses what a lot of us would express. And that is, she says, so blessed to have known her, loved her smiles and her hugs. And
Yeah.
that was really true. That was really true. She didn't seem to let that get in the way of loving people and giving them hugs. And it was a testimony to all of us.
Two short little stories. One day I was with her at the oncologist's office, and she was sitting there, and of course she had her walker and she was in constant pain. And there was a lady across the room that was all by herself, and she said, "That lady's all by herself." And she walked over with her walker and tried to talk to this lady, and the lady didn't speak any Spanish. And of course, Cassie had picked
Any
up
English.
any English, yeah. And Cassie had picked up a little bit of Spanish from riding on the bus and stuff, and she literally ministered to that lady intentionally. And one time we were in Dr. Scribner, her oncologist's office, and he had to tell her some very hard news. And I could tell that he was having a hard time getting it out. And she just took her hand and put her hand on his arm to comfort him. So it wasn't.
And she says, "Are you going to be all right?
Are you going to be okay?" It wasn't about her. It was about everybody else.
Yeah, she was an awesome testimony.
She was.
Naeem says, I miss her so much. She was my little sister.
I
Yeah.
know. I know.
And she was. She was a little sister to many, many of us.
Mm-hmm.
Big personality.
Yeah.
To go with her big smile.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hey, Cindy, while kind of we were discussing this before, first when we talked to you, we wanted to make sure you guys were comfortable sharing this because obviously it's not something that's easy. But when I asked you, this is your quote. I'm going to quote your response. You said, "That is why we go through various trials, so we can encourage others and grow closer to the Lord."
Yeah.
And you guys are that encouragement to us. What message would you have for someone who right now is going through something extremely difficult? What have you learned over the last 4 or 5 years through? We say the loss of Cassie, but we know that she hasn't lost anything. She's gained everything.
Yeah.
But she's not here in the here and now with us. What has the Lord done in your lives?
He has just shown his goodness. And I guess, I had kind of wrote something out about that. And the song "Another in the Fire," there's that part of the lyric that says, "I'll count the joy come every battle, because I know that's where you'll be." And I guess my encouragement to anybody is that no matter what you find yourself in, whether it's a battle of health problems, financial loss and ruin, or marital issues that seem to be leading you towards divorce, or the loss of a child or a loved one, which each one of these we've went
been
through
all those things.
Yeah. Look for the joy in the middle of them. Bookmark those joys in your mind and in your heart, because God is in each one of those battles. And with him, there is always joy and hope to make it through. And I think because of some of the things that Tim and I've went through, not just with Cassie, your trials are either going to make you or break you. And if you're walking with the Lord, they'll make you.
Yeah. My encouragement would be, this was no surprise to God. And there's a lot of platitudes that sometimes when you say them, you think the person that you're saying them to is going to hit you in the face with their fist, because it's like, it's all in God's plan, or it's all going to work out for good. And there are Bible scriptures that are appropriate for that hard time that someone's going through. But and I feel very bad for people that don't have the Lord, because they have no anchor, and there really isn't anything. There's no hope that they can put their anchor in. I mean, there's a Bob Claycamp song, "The Anchor of My Soul." Very excellent song. If anybody doesn't know it, you should look it up. It's on Throne Room Ballads, I think, is his album. But whatever hard time it is, it was no surprise to God. When earlier I think I said that I had this good job in Illinois, and quite by surprise got kicked to the curb when they reverse engineered all my systems and didn't need me anymore. And I was unemployed for 2 years. I couldn't get a job for anything, anywhere close to the pay grade that I was making, anything near any of the skill sets that I had in the industry I was in. And it was a real desert time, and I was on unemployment, and that ran out too. And ended up taking a job working at a kiosk, cell phone kiosk in a Walmart. I mean, Sam's Club. And it was about that time that my job coach said, send an email out to everybody you know that's in business. And one of the guys that answered, I had stayed in touch with Randy across the years. Here and there, we'd communicate back and forth by email. But was the guy that I worked for in 1980 when we first moved to Arizona, the very first time. And he offered me a job, and we talked about it, and I flew out here and visited. And next thing you know, 6 weeks later, we were in Arizona, moving into our apartment. And Naeem, thank you for your help, and Dave and all the people that helped us move in.
Pastor Dan.
Pastor Dan, I think you were there too.
Yeah.
Anyway, you were there too, John.
Yeah.
So I can't even name all the people that were there that day. I mean, the church showed up in droves. There was a lot of hands, and we appreciate that. But
we thought we were coming back to Arizona for him to have a job. Yeah,
we thought the whole reason for God moving us back to Arizona was so that I would have employment. But you know why he moved us to Arizona? For Cassie. To take care of her that last 10 months of her life. And actually it was more than 10 months, because we were helping her through her illness, and eventually moved her out of the group home and into our home. And that's why he moved us back here. That was our purpose for being back here.
Yeah, add also to add you back into our family.
Yes.
Hey, that's the icing on the cake. That's
So with that, what are some of the ministries you guys are involved in?
You go. I've been talking.
Oh, okay. Well, we co-run the bookstore, and I've been involved with the women's ministry. I help do the outline for the presentation ministry. I dabble a little bit in website stuff, and then I post prayer requests for Rhea, and so I really enjoy what I enjoy. I like the background stuff where I can just do it and honor the Lord in that way. So,
and like she said, I co-run the bookstore with her, which is great because we get to work together.
And we love the people that we work with.
Oh yeah. The people that we work with, the greatest group of people you can imagine. And I get the awesome blessing of being able to play on the worship team with some incredibly more talented musicians than I am. And
Tim, you're a great bass player.
And it's thank you, but I don't practice nearly as much as I should, but if it's good, it's God. But it's such a wonderful feeling to just be a part of the team that helps lead people into worship. So that's what we do.
Yeah, you guys mentioned that you guys kind of co-lead the bookstore. What's your vision for the bookstore? How do you see? Because for you guys, I know it's not simply dollars and cents. You see the bookstore as a ministry, and that it definitely is. What is your vision for the bookstore, and how do you see it building up the church?
Well, I see it as for a place for people to come back, and hopefully they are always encouraged. We always want to be able to encourage people that come back there, have some fun, laugh and bring a little bit of levity to sometimes life, and just be there to help people. If they need something, we can try to see if we can get that for them, or just
pray with them if they need it.
If they need it. Yeah.
What advice would you give somebody who wants to be involved in the bookstore?
Well, I would say you don't need a business degree to be back there.
No.
It's easy. We can train them to run the cash register and do the credit card machine and do all the stuff. But it's fun. It is fun fun. It's hard to have a bad time doing something that you enjoy so much, and meeting with the people that come back there. It's sometimes we meet the new people before a lot of people meet new people, because when they come in, they kind of wander back there, and so we get a chance to introduce ourselves to the new people that come, and I hope that we adequately show ourselves to be friendly enough and not scary,
because we can be scary.
Yeah. But we have a really good time with the other people that work back there, the other servants that serve the Lord by giving of their time, and it's a great ministry to be in. The commitment for most people is not huge. 1 or 2 Sundays a month or 1 or 2 Wednesdays a month, and we're flexible. So yeah, if they want to get involved, they can come back and talk to us and fill out an application.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, as we kind of wind down here, we want to know why is ministry in general, why is serving your local church family important to you both?
It's kind of my breath. That's why I'm here. It's a way of honoring the Lord. It's a way to honor other people. I wouldn't know. It would be impossible for me to go to church and not serve. It's just ingrained. It's like when I accepted Christ, it was a natural thing. It had nothing to do of working my way closer to the Lord, because that is a personal thing that I have to do every day to draw close to Him. But serving at our church body is like I said, it's part of my breath.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's it helps us become and stay connected to what's going on at Calvary and to the people. It's a way of having a relationship with folks that we might not otherwise build relationships with. And, the Lord gave His life for us. I mean, He gave us new life. And the least we can do is serve, give Him part of our lives. Mm-hmm. And it's a sacrifice of joy, because we enjoy serving the Lord. And even if it's just for this, just a few, half an hour before service, half an hour after service. It's we just love it. I don't know what to do, what I would do coming to church and not serving somewhere, just as Cindy said.
Yeah. I think if I went to a church and they wouldn't let me serve, I would leave.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
I would go find a place where I was needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sydney.
Oh, we were talking about some of the things that you had mentioned to us about thinking about, and I said to Tim, I says, it's like there's several different boxes and there's so much packed into those boxes that we could share. And I just want to say, if anybody wants to know more about us when we do come back to church, just ask us anything. We have a lot of war wounds, but God has healed those.
How can we pray for you guys? How would you like your church family to be praying for you? Anything specific?
Well, I have a brother that's suffering with esophageal cancer. You could pray for him. He's gotten a good result on his PET scan just recently, and I just would pray that he continues to do well and continues to be with us for a lot longer. We live in a 55 plus community that's having a lot of issues with management, and I won't go into it all, but just pray that Cindy and I are on this team of people that are trying to change things and make it better here, and just pray that we do so with a godly attitude and help lead them in the right direction.
We need a
lot of prayer on that.
And for our kids
our kids, our kids are like most families that have kids. There's health challenges and concerns on both sides, and so pray for our grandkids. And we're blessed with both of our children that are married have godly spouses, and we just pray that their marriages would stay strong and firm, and just really dug into the Lord during these challenging times that we're in.
You got that. I would like to say personally what a blessing you guys are to Becky and I, and we love you very much. And I know there's a lot of folks at the church who feel the same way. And thank you guys for taking the time to sit with us and share with the congregation. And I want to speak to the congregation a moment here. If you don't know Tim and Cindy, get to know them. Like Cindy said, just go ask, go sit down, talk to them. They're just folks. And, you're not going to be intimidated by getting to know them. In fact, you're going to be blessed by getting to know them. And guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
It's been an honor.
We love you guys all so much.
Yeah, we do.
And we just can't wait till the body gets back together again.
Amen. Amen, brother. We feel the same way. Pastor Dan?
Yeah, just wanted to remind everyone to share the link with friends and family. We'll be back again on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. as we continue to study the gospel of Jesus Christ. And make sure that during this time you check out calvarycentral.org, where you can submit prayer requests, you can give online, and then also just wanted to remind everyone of the children's ministry website, calvarycentralchildren.org, calvarycentralchildren.org. So, just wanted to keep reminding everyone of that.
Amen.
All right.
Love you guys very much.
Love you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.